You. I spat, body vibrating with rage. I lunged at Wesley, lunged at the bastard that took my mother from me, took our mother from us. He sidestepped me, slapping my back with the flat of the machete. Easy does it, little brother, he said, sneering. You haven't got time to be wasting on me, do you? He nodded toward my lantern and the flickering flame inside. I swallowed. The letter was almost out. I reached into my bag to grab another, but felt only a handful left. When? How? When you fell, Wesley said, as if reading my mind. Your letters spilled out everywhere, most washed downstream. My heart sank, but then, almost as soon as it came, my disappointment was replaced with fury. Then I'm dead anyway. I might as well take you with me. He lifted the machete, the silver of the blade glinting at my throat. I wouldn't, he said flatly. I don't want to hurt you, Jasper, and I mean that. I grit my teeth. You fucking killed her. You killed her and you ate her heart. You twisted, monstrous piece of shit. I told you then, and I'll tell you now. It was necessary. For you. And for Harriet. For all of Gloomfall. He lowered his machete. I'm not buying it. I spat. What reason could possibly justify that? You tore our family apart. You killed Mom. It's not that simple. There are things you don't understand about crows. Launch themselves from nearby trees, their caws echoing into the black aether. Something rumbled in the distance. Something heavy. Powerful. Wesley's face fell into a frown. Why do you have to say that word? You need to leave, Jasper. Now. Run, and keep running along the coast and don't stop. How? I don't have enough letters, I said, gazing toward the now rising sound of approaching thunder. Whatever was out there was closing in. Forget the letters, snapped Wesley. He jabbed his machete toward the water, toward the lighthouse, toward home. Follow the river. I'll buy you what time I can. Questions passed my mind, questions like how and why, but instead I nodded lamely. I might have hated Wesley. I might have wanted to kill him slowly someday myself. But the fact remained that my sister was in danger. She was the entire reason I'd come here. Harriet. Don't think this is finished, I growled, backing away. I swear I'll be back for you, Wesley. I'll do what Father should have done 30 years ago. Wesley sighed, paying me a final mournful look. I know. He darted off. He dashed across the pebble beach, moving at almost inhuman speed toward the approaching rumbling. I made for the creek. I moved with more confidence now. I don't know if it was the fact I was overflowing with adrenaline, or if it was the fact that I had so few letters that I couldn't afford to make another misstep. I don't know. All I know is I clambered across the rocky shoreline like I was born for it. 1 step. 2. I lunged, scattering pebbles as my feet tore ahead. It was hard work. I had to keep my broken lantern covered with my hand, and the heat from the letters was burning my palm, but I knew the alternative was much worse. Getting caught out here without safe passage meant the haunts would have their way with me, and I'd seen plenty of what they like to do to their prey. I kept moving, breath coming in exhausted heaves. Somewhere behind me I heard the rumbling stopped. I listened as the coming thunderclap evaporated, then ignited into an eruption. A roar met my ears. Something deafening. Enough to rattle the bones beneath my skin, and I wondered in silent awe if Wesley was really confronting that thing. Why, though? A question for later. Ahead of me rose a new challenge, an almost sheer ridge. I set my jaw. My options were to try and walk around it and lose time, burning through my remaining letters, or attempt to climb it. Doing that with the lantern in hand would be a difficult task, maybe an impossible one. Another roar. The creek rippled, the water shuddering from the force of whatever strange beast approached in the distance. Damn it. I didn't have the luxury of considering my options. I had to make a choice. The wall. It was the fastest way. Assuming I could manage it, I lit a fresh letter, then put the handle of my lantern in my teeth and got to climbing. It wasn't a particularly tall ridge, but it was steep. I'd need both hands for this. I gripped the rocky outcropping, struggling to find purchase in the darkness. Slowly, I inched my way up. At halfway up the face, my teeth began to ache with the weight of the lantern. It banged against the front of the rock wall, the letter inside flickering desperately as it tried to hold its flame. My heart fluttered. Come on. Just a little further. I made it. I was up. I set the lantern down on the ledge, then pulled myself over. I took a brief moment to catch my breath, then lifted my light and carried on. This new area was familiar. Even in the dim glow, I recognized aspects of my surroundings, like an old elm tree, or that overgrown fence running along the shoreline. I'd been here before, many times in the past. Where was it, though? The beast roared again. This time, the force was cataclysmic. Trees lurched. They bent forward, keeling beneath the might of the resultant shockwave. A blast of wind tore past me. Twigs and stones whipped about in the hurricane current, cutting into my arms, my face. I shut my eyes, grimacing in the face of gale. Then, it dissipated. The wind faded, and once I heard the pebbles begin to scatter back to the ground, I opened my eyes. Darkness. I'd lost my light. No, I hissed. The force of the monster's roar had blown the letter away. I reached into my bag for another, desperately bringing my lighter to it, but something lunged at me from the direction of the overgrown fence. I fell wrestling as it clawed at me, its skin peeling with every swipe. It smelled of rot, decay.
Hungry,
It groaned.
so hungry.
I grunted, trying to kick it off me, but like Hull Hans, its strength far outstripped its size. Jagged teeth tore into my shoulder. I cried out. The creature began chewing, ripping, and on instinct I grabbed the first thing I could, a stone from the shore, and bashed the monster across the head with it. It rolled off of me. I gasped, feeling warm blood leaking through my shirt. Not good. I reached into my bag for another letter to burn, but my bag wasn't there. It slipped off my shoulder when I fell. I dropped to my knees, feeling around the stones hastily. Where was it? I couldn't see a damn thing. More movement. It came from the trees, slow, shambling. From it came voices, a legion of them, rasping.
Hungry.
Judging from the necrotic ache in my shoulder, I could guess these things were probably cold risen, a sort of resurrected dead. In this number, that meant I had to be close to the graveyard, and that meant I had to be close to home. I bolted. I abandoned the lantern, abandoned the bag of letters, and navigated using the sound of the creek alone. Trees shifted in the phantom wood beside me. Branches snapped. More hunts would be recognizing a traveler without safe passage. They'd be closing in, and they'd be doing it much faster than the cold risen could. Damn. Screeching, howling, groaning, cackling. All of it met my ears, a cornucopia of nightmares converging on me in the dark. Footsteps, pause, an army of haunts pounded behind me, closing in. Faster. My lungs burned, my heart felt like it'd explode from the effort, but I knew I couldn't let up even a second. I was probably already dead as it was. At least I'll make you work for it, I grunted. I rounded a bend, and then I saw it up ahead in the distance, a sweeping ethereal glow. Gloomfall Lighthouse. Harriet, I shouted. tearing up the bank. "Harriet, give me a hand, would you?" I didn't even know if she was still alive. The cottage lights were dark. The land seemed silent, almost forgotten. I kept running, even as I heard the hiss and whispering of a dozen creatures gaining on me. Almost there. Something sharp caught my shoulder, a claw. I fell, rolling violently into the creek, with a frigid splash. The next moment I got a whiff of rancid breath. Rough skin, 100 hands seemed to reach at me, desperate for their pound of flesh. Harriet. Light. It exploded across me. The desperate hands pulled back, retreating to an anguished chorus of screams and whispers. Whimpers. It exploded across me. The desperate hands pulled back, retreating to an anguished chorus of screams and whimpers. I lifted an arm, shielding my eyes as I stumbled to my feet. Jasper? It was Harriet's voice, distant. It sounded like she was shouting from atop the lighthouse, and I figured she probably was. The only thing capable of getting those haunts off of me was the full glare of Gloomfall's glow. "Is that you down there?" she called. I gave a thumbs up in her direction, smiling. "Sure is. Good to hear your voice again, Harry." She was quiet. Harriet seemed cold in that moment, almost disappointed to see me. She'd begged me to return, though, so why? "There's somebody here you should meet," she said. "Who?" A half-beat of silence. Then, another voice. This one soft, hazy, almost inaudible against the electric hum of the lighthouse artificial sun.
"Me,"
it said.
"They call me the Stick Man, and I think you and I need to talk."
The Stick Man. That was the entity the Dogman had mentioned. The being it said had likely killed my father and was going to kill Harriet. "You," I shouted, splashing toward the lighthouse wildly. "What are you doing here?"
"I'm here for the same reason you are,"
it said.
"I'm here to kill your sister."
This was the I Inherited a Lighthouse in the Woods series. This is part 3. There are things worse than monsters in these trees. By Bourne Beach. See you next time.